Hey kiddos, today we're going to be working with composite functions. So kind of similar to what we did last time. So let's jump right in. All right, so the composite of f of x and g of x is denoted like so, f of g of x. So notice your paper, for some reason, I don't know why, it would not print this little symbol, so you need to draw it in, okay? Which means the same as f of g of x. So we have f of x is equal to 1 over x and g of x equals x plus 1. This is what we need to find. First problem is finding f of g of x. So notice I think it's a lot easier to interpret this like that. Okay, so what I went ahead and did was I wrote f of g of x, and then underneath that I put f of x, because that's what we should understand that this function notation means. So what I see here is that g of x is going to be equal to our x value. So x essentially is whatever g of x is, which is x plus 1. All right, so when we work this problem out, we're going to use our f of x, because that was the outside, which is 1 over x. And all we're going to do is we're going to substitute this x for what we got here, which is g of x. So when we do that, we get 1 over, instead of writing x, we're changing it to x plus 1. We cannot simplify this, so that would stay as our answer. All right, moving on to number 2. Number 2 now is switching it up. It's g of x. So notice now I have g of f of x, all right? And what I wrote down was I changed f of x already, just to see if this way may be a little bit easier to understand. So we have g of f of x, and then I went ahead and changed f of x to what it actually is, which is 1 over x, okay? So I have g of 1 over x, and we know that that means g of x is equal to, so x is equal to 1 over x, essentially. So our g value was x plus 1. All right, x plus 1. And we're changing the x to 1 over x. So you get this, 1 over x plus 1. Now, we can actually simplify this. We have to get, when we're adding fractions, if you didn't remember, the denominators must be the same. So I have to change the plus 1 to be the same, to have the same denominator as the previous fraction, 1 over x. So you'd get 1 over x plus x over x, because x over x is the same thing as 1. And when we add this, you get 1 plus x all over x. And that would be our reduced answer. All right, moving on. All right, now we're given two different values here. So this time f of x is 4x squared minus 2x, and g of x is equal to 2x. So we're looking for f of g of x. So notice I wrote it out, f of g of x. And then I'm changing g of x to what it actually is, which is 2x. So I get f of 2x. So in other words, x is equal to 2x. So when I write out the f of x expression, which is 4x squared minus 2x, we're going to be substituting in where x value is what we got here, which is 2x. So you get 4 times 2x squared minus 2 times 2x. All right, so now let's reduce 2x squared. I'm going to bring down that 4. So 4 times 2x squared, which is essentially 2x times 2x. 2 times 2 gives you 4. X times x gives you x squared. Minus 2 times 2 is 4x. All right, well, multiply 4 times 4x squared is 16x squared minus 4x. Now, you should hopefully realize you cannot combine those two values, so we can't go any further. That would be our answer. All right, now g of x. I want you guys to attempt this one on your own, okay? I did start already helping you. So we have g of x this time, so g of f of x. And then what we're going to change is the f of x to the 4x squared minus 2x. So what you should discover here is that your x value is going to be the 4x squared minus 2x. All right? G of x is 2 times x. So 2 times what the x value is, okay, will give you your result. All right, same concept, but again, now we're switching up what we were given. So this time f of x is x squared minus 1, and g of x is x plus 1. So let's look for f of g of x. So f of g of x, as I've written it out, f of g of x is x plus 1, so notice I substitute that in. Knowing that tells me that my x is going to be equal to x plus 1. So now when I rewrite the f of x value, or expression that was given, which is x squared minus 1, I'm substituting x for what we discovered, which is x plus 1. All right, now x plus 1 squared. Hopefully we recall our foiling rules, right? So essentially that is x plus 1 times x plus 1, and don't forget that minus 1. So we're going to FOIL here, x times x, x squared, x times 1 is positive 1x, 1 times x is positive 1x, and then 1 times 1 is 1. Don't forget to bring down that minus 1. All right, now we're looking to combine like terms. Let's see, nothing goes with the x squared. The 1x goes with the other 1x, and then this plus 1 goes with this minus 1. All right, so when we combine those values, I bring down the x squared. 1x plus 1x gave us positive 2x, and the positive 1 minus 1, that actually cancels out. So our answer is x squared plus 2x, because you can't go any further. All right, number 6. Same concept, but this time it's g of f of x. So notice I've written out g of f of x. F of x is x squared minus 1, so I wrote that expression here. Okay, so what we discover is that x is going to be equivalent to x squared minus 1. So I'm going to write our g of x value, which is x plus 1. And where the x is, we're substituting in what we discovered it to be, which is x squared minus 1. All right? Well, really there's not much work here. We have x squared minus 1 plus 1. We see we can combine the minus 1 and plus 1, and those cancel out, and all we're left with is x squared. All right, so to finish out this video, I rewrote what g of x is, since that's where we're using for 7 and 8. Okay, so g of x from the previous problem was x plus 1. All right, so here, notice we're kind of going back to just basic function notation, okay? They have g of negative x, though, okay? So we know here that x is going to be then equal to a negative x. So literally, that's all we're going to be substituting in. So the original expression for g of x is x plus 1. What we're substituting x to be is a negative x plus 1. We would finish here because you can't combine those values, so that would be the actual answer. Now, there's a big difference between problem number 7 and number 8. Notice the location of the negative. For number 7, it's inside the parentheses with the value of x. For number 8, it's on the outside, okay, and it's with the g, okay? So, your negative symbol is then going to go on the outside of our problem, okay? So, what we're going to end up with is, well, what is g of x? G of x is x plus 1. And we're going to put that negative symbol on the outside of it. So this ends up becoming a distribution problem, okay? We're going to have to distribute this negative 1 to everything inside of our parentheses, which is the g of x value. So negative 1 times x is negative x, and negative 1 times a positive 1 becomes a negative 1. You can't combine those values, so we'll stop there, and that would be our final answer. All right. Awesome sauce.